Candace Owens' latest drop in her series, Becoming Brigitte, has the world captivated, and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds underestimated the public yet again. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to everyone who's new. I'm Nicole. I'm so excited you're here. Thanks for being here. I am going to go over the explosive details that Candace and Xavier Poussard uncovered for us in their explosive interview. Oh my goodness. I'm not going to lie. I was on the fence, okay? I love Candace. I trust Candace. I would trust her with my life, but I was on the fence. I was like, I think it's the cognitive dissonance. It's so impossible to believe that these world leaders are actually getting away with this kind of stuff. But the interview between Candace and Xavier Poussard was nothing short of shocking, with details such as, Jean-Michel Trogneau, the little boy of the Trogneau family, allegedly stealing the identity of Brigitte Trogneau, his sister, and then going on to pursue a young 14-year-old Emmanuel Macron while in a position of power as his theater teacher at his school, which, of course, if these allegations are true, that would make Jean-Michel Trogneau, who is now transitioned into Brigitte Trogneau Macron, a pederast, a pedophile who went after a 14-year-old boy. Of course, the crimes that would be encompassed in that relationship of a 14-year-old and a 39-year-old, I believe. And of course, plenty of laws were broken if any of this is true. And somehow we're supposed to continue trusting mainstream media. The mainstream media worked so hard to dispel these rumors in France when journalists were just simply coming forward and wanting to do exposés on the First Lady, and they just kept running into a total blackout in areas of her life. And then things really started getting weird when, they realized that not only are the younger years blacked out, but there's no evidence of Brigitte Macron ever being pregnant. There's no evidence of Brigitte Macron, going through college as a female. None of that exists. No photographic proof. No one can come forward and identify her from her class. It's really shocking. It's really shocking to consider the fact that Emmanuel Macron was just 14 years old and being pursued by a 39-year-old, male or female. It's completely inappropriate and illegal, even in France. Now, apparently France has some interesting differences in law. Apparently you can be 15 years old and give consent, but according to the facts that have been discovered, Emmanuel Macron was in fact 14 when the relationship began, and that would in fact break French law. And according to Candace, Jean-Michel Trogneau, who is, currently masquerading allegedly as Brigitte Macron, is still able to be prosecuted until the end of this year. Out of all the years for Candace to complete this research and then be able to produce the series Becoming Brigitte just in time for Jean-Michel Trogneau, who is currently identifying as Brigitte Trogneau, to still be prosecuted is kind of insane. Are we going to see the French government take this seriously? Are we going to see the French government stand up for a minor who is no longer a minor, of course, but this matters on the world stage? Everyone's eyes are now on the French government, because if they do not stand up and take these allegations seriously and these very well researched items of information and documents, and there's all kinds of evidence compiled here. This is not just a conspiracy theory. This is a full-on investigation with lots and lots of evidence now that has been made available to the Western world. Thank you to Candace Owens for doing all of the work and producing all of these pieces of content for us to become educated in this matter, and to take this from conspiracy theory to a full-on case. If the French government does not stand up and take a stand against pedophilia, we've got a big problem. These allegations should be taken seriously. Boys and girls alike should be safe in France and around the world. And in 2025, being a pedophile and going after a child, whether it happened 20 years ago or it's happening now, is unacceptable. It has always been unacceptable, but with social media and the power of social media websites like X, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, this information is getting out, and I'm so thankful for that. I just have to say, I truly was skeptical about this. I was really waiting. I was waiting for some serious, cold, hard proof. And for me personally, the latest drop, I believe it's episode 7, which you can only find on the full episode on CandaceOwens.com because of the nature of this information. She can't risk putting it on YouTube, putting it anywhere else. It had to be on her own website, which, by the way, was attacked at one point. There was a lot of server attacks, I guess, on her website a couple weeks ago. And so this episode being able to be viewed is just such a gift. And I didn't take it lightly. I made sure to watch it the second it dropped. My husband and I watched it together, and we were both just shocked. A few points I want to touch on. As a female myself with astigmatism, which is, I have a connective tissue disorder, and it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that results in symptoms throughout my body. And one of those symptoms is the tissue of my eyeballs is warped. And so my doctor told me I need to get like a hard contact lens to help my eyes maintain their shape over time. Well, I'm supposed to wear glasses, and I can tell you as a girl, I don't like wearing glasses. I don't like wearing them, so I just don't wear them, and I make do without my glasses, and I don't want to touch my eyeballs, so I don't wear contact lenses. And my vision is not so poor that I can't, see while driving or whatever. I can see all the street signs. I can see everything I need to be able to see. But I can tell you this, as someone who has a prescription and is supposed to wear glasses, I have always gravitated towards the same shape of frames over time, because when you find a frame shape that works, you just kind of stick with that shape, right? When I saw the picture of Brigitte Trogneux-Macron and Jean-Michel side by side, which we now, judging by this evidence, they do appear to be the same person, allegedly. But when I saw this photo of these two people side by side, I immediately, as a girl, I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, the young Jean-Michel, 18 some odd years old in the photo, and an older Brigitte Macron, they're wearing almost identical frames. And that's because when you are male or female and you find that frame that works for you, you stick with it over time. And that's probably something that Brigitte did not think about. She did not make that connection that she better never put on the same shape of eyeglass frame that she did in her former life as Jean-Michel Trogneux. And what a mistake, because this side by side is just, the proof is in the pudding, right? If you don't have the mainstream media breathing down your neck and trying to brainwash you to believe that there's no way that could be Brigitte Macron, and you just, as Candace mentioned in her interview with Xavier Broussard, if you just believe your eyes, that side-by-side photo it's evident. Jean-Michel Trogneux is Brigitte Trogneux Macron. They are the same person if you just simply believe your eyes. You can't make this up. And without the media lying to you, believing your eyes, they look like the same people. Another thing that I found fascinating, I literally just was looking at my husband like, how is this possible? Was when Xavier Broussard shared the excerpt from a paper in Algeria. And he mentions that this paper in Algeria is equivalent to the likes of the Washington Post. And he reads an excerpt and he says, quote, "Macron is a cocaine-addicted president and psychopath under the influence of his wife, Jean-Michel Trogneux, without ever being elected." I was shocked. That excerpt actually made me think of Tucker Carlson interviewing a man who alleges he actually did cocaine in the back of a limo with Barack Obama. And that wasn't all he did in the back of the limo. I don't want to get too explicit on here, but I have the clip, and I don't know. If I'm going to roll the clip, I'll roll it right here.
I had no idea that he was a representative in the Illinois House. I had no idea he was in politics. I just knew that he was supposedly married and at the time was going through some issues with the marriage.
He said that?
That was made clear. Yeah.
Did he say what kind of issues?
No.
Do you remember? No. So you said, I'm looking for someone to wake up. He knows you're referring to cocaine. I know where to get it. What happens next?
We get back in the limo. The driver takes us wherever it is that Barack had instructed him to take us. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. He gets out, comes back. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort.
And you're in the limo?
Yep.
Driving or parked?
No, the driver's driving.
Yep.
I start to put a line on a CD tray, and I just happen to notice that he pulls something else out of his pocket. And next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I don't have an issue with it. I mean, some people smoke, some people snort.
Smoking the cocaine?
Yes. So as I'm doing a line, I just start, this is the part where you kind of make your move to see where things are going. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go. So the night became somewhat active sexually and drug-wise in the limo.
So you hit on him. Did he seem shocked by that?
Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, if you're smoking crack with a stranger in the back of a limo, like, you got to imagine things might go crazy places.
Well, not only imagine it, I look at it this way. I've done a lot of crazy things in my lifetime. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I pretty much know whether or not I can move in a certain direction with an individual. I didn't feel that I was going in the wrong direction. I just wasn't so sure how much I could trust the individual
Right.
at first.
I mean, the testimony that he gives to Tucker Carlson is unbelievable. And that is the first thing that I thought of when Xavier Poussard mentions this excerpt to Candace Owens in this interview. I was like, wait, that's kind of really seems very closely related, that Macron is being accused of doing cocaine, being a psychopath, under the influence of Jean-Michel Trogneau, kind of being manipulated by him, her. And then we have Barack Obama, who similarly under the influence of cocaine and may have been, blackmailed and manipulated due to some of that behavior that he committed, or that he allegedly participated in. I'm just wondering what's going on with world leaders, where we're seeing a trend in the background of their lives that seemingly involves, accusations of homosexuality, allegations of homosexuality, and even transgenderism. I don't understand why this is something that seems to kind of be popping up. And then to add to that, the illicit drugs. Look at Hunter Biden and the allegations, the drug use. It's just very strange. It's very strange to see world leaders. We should have world-class leaders in world leadership positions. And instead, we're seeing these positions infiltrated. I think that when you are in a position of power and you've been participating in illicit activities and, maybe alternative lifestyles that somehow, used to be illegal to get married as a homosexual in France, and to, there was no such thing as getting married, same-sex marriages in the United States until recently. So that is quite literally something that was illegal. I'm not saying it should have been. I'm just saying that it's a fact that these lifestyles were considered alternative lifestyles. And so clearly, if there was nothing wrong, then Jean-Michel Trogneau would not have had to hide that he transitioned into a female and then married Emmanuel Macron after dating Emmanuel Macron while he was 14. I mean, if there was nothing wrong with it, then why is the palace going through such lengths to conceal all of this information, right? So I'm just dumbfounded, to be totally honest, and I don't know what this means. What does it mean? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments on what this means. What does this mean for France? What does this mean for Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron? Are they going to respond? Because if I was Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron, I would think that a simple response with a few photos to prove I was pregnant, with a few photos to prove I was, a female all my life, and, just standing up to these rumors as public servants, right? I think that it's easy for people in power to kind of forget where they stand. But the reality is our tax dollars, here in America pay for our leadership and our government officials, and the tax dollars in France are also doing the same. And so I believe the people of France deserve an explanation. To hear that journalists were being detained because they were simply trying to write an article about Brigitte Macron and stumbled across the wrong information to their own, they didn't expect that to happen. They just started knocking on the wrong doors and wound up, being detained. And to hear that is terrifying, because if we did not have social media, where would the justice be for these journalists? I mean, Xavier Poussard is currently living outside of France to protect himself and his family, because people were showing up at his house in the middle of the night to send him a message. And so I just want to thank Xavier Poussard for all of his incredible work And I want to also thank Candace Owens for giving Xavier Poussard the stage to stand on and having this incredible interview where we were able to hear him be translated, in real time as we're watching the interview. Obviously, the interview wasn't live, but being able to hear them go back and forth in such a way, it was such an easy thing to watch. And I think that that's important here. Candace really went above and beyond. They're wearing these headphones, which I'm guessing was facilitating the conversation to be able to go back and forth and immediate translation. And it was just really wonderful and easy to watch, which means there are really no excuses. Like, you can pop this interview on. If you haven't heard it, you need to watch it. You can pop it in. I say pop it in because I'm thinking of like a cassette tape because I'm a millennial and that's really funny. But I mean, just pull it up on CandaceOwens.com while you're driving to work, or while you're doing your self-care for the night, or while you're, cooking dinner for the kids, or whatever you might be doing where you can listen to a podcast or a video. Do it. You need to do it because you need to understand how powerful these positions of leadership have been for the last 100 years. They have controlled the narrative. They have controlled the press. And as Elon Musk said, just a few months ago, you're the media now. And it's true. We're able to literally, just like I'm doing, I'm at home. I've got my mic. I've got my computer. I have a normal life. I lead a normal life. I'm not working for CNN. I'm not working for Fox News, but here I am reporting the news. And I still can't believe that this is what I do for fun and that I get paid to do it. But I'm very thankful for my audience. I'm very thankful that you guys are here and that you have interest in what I have to say and what I have to share. And this is something I had to share. This interview is explosive and you must take time to listen. You can listen at CandaceOwens.com. There is no paywall. She wanted everybody who was interested in hearing this full interview be able to hear it. And I think that that is just huge. And you better go take her up on it and listen because you will be astonished. And to hear how journalists who accidentally barked up the wrong tree were treated, and to hear how Candace, to watch how Candace was treated when she spoke up and spoke for people who can't speak for themselves on the Western stage, women and children who are being annihilated. I have so much respect for Candace. I'm so thankful. Really quickly, before I wrap up, I have to talk about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I have to talk about it. And I'm going to do an episode on this entire saga. I haven't touched this yet as far as the podcast and show here go, but I am going to do an episode. And really, the whole episode is going to be aimed at Blake Lively herself. I'm going to talk to Blake directly, girl to girl. But right now, I just want to say that Blake clearly had no idea that Ryan was going to say what he said. And to watch her be caught off guard is so sad to me. As a woman, I'm thinking, wow, if your allegations were at all rooted in the truth, which I personally, I believe women. I'm the first person to believe women because that's what I believe. I believe we should believe women. But the details of this case are pretty obvious, and it's just really difficult to believe that Blake Lively suffered any kind of harassment from Justin Baldoni. And I've been following all of this pretty closely. But to watch Ryan Reynolds do what he did at SNL, and I'll pop a clip in right here.
Question. Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Hi, what have you heard? Great. Hi, what have you heard?
Blake clearly did not know that he was going to say that. And for him to be like, yeah, we're good. Why? What have you heard? What do you mean, what have we heard, Ryan? We heard that you're suing Justin Baldoni for sexual harassment of your wife. Like, that's what we heard. We heard that there's something pretty serious going on. Or is there? Is it not serious? We don't know what to think. You're gaslighting millions of people with your casual behavior, making such serious allegations that can truly ruin Justin Baldoni's career, ruin his marriage, ruin his life. And you're just going to go on SNL and like be like, why? What have you heard? We heard that you're actually a psychopath. That's what we heard. We heard that you pretended to murder Knight's Pool. That's what we heard. We heard that you continually shame your wife in one way or another with your passive aggressive behaviors and making her the object of your control. It's really, really off-putting that you would get up at SNL, something that all of America has been watching for 50 years, at the 50-year anniversary, and you're going to get up at SNL and make it about you and what you're going through. Sit down, be quiet, shh. Like, you're lucky they let you in the door, because if I'm the person in charge of who gets in the door at SNL, I'm not letting you and Blake in the door right now, because you guys are literally making the women who actually are being harassed, women who actually are suffering from domestic violence, you are making a mockery of those women. You are hurting women by making these allegations that are so clearly rooted in jealousy and control of your wife. You're mad that she had a good time with Justin Baldoni. You clearly got upset that she had him over to the penthouse, and you're clearly punishing her for all the world to see. And you're going to find out that the American courts don't work like the Hollywood courts, right? This isn't some movie. You're going to stand in front of a judge. You're going to have to give actual testimony. It's going to have to be factual. It can't be some made up Hollywood script. It's going to have to be real. And you're going to have to accept the fact that you have no leg to stand on with these allegations, Blake. And that you're going to have to address the fact with yourself. You're going to have to look in the mirror, and you're going to have to realize that somehow you let your husband's extreme jealousy and need for control wind up ruining not only his career, but now your career. Had you just stood in his way and insisted that nothing had happened, and insisted that if anything, you were the person to blame. None of us know what actually happened behind closed doors to the point where Ryan is on this tirade, but it's very clear that you upset your husband. He's making sure everybody on the planet knows. And so for you guys to go to SNL and make it about you, and Blake, I don't think you knew what he was going to do. And that's what makes me sad. It makes me sad for you, because he is really reeling you in to something that you can stand up right now and walk away from. You can still walk away from this, Blake. And I highly encourage you to do so. I just watched It Ends With Us. I had to watch the movie because I wanted to be able to, truly get a feel for the interactions that took place on camera so that we can understand the off-camera conversations and footage better. And so I finally took time out of my busy life to watch the movie. And as a survivor of domestic violence myself, who wound up in an abusive relationship that I walked away from, and I am one lucky girl, I walked away from something that could have truly ruined my life. It was ruining my life. That relationship was ruining my life at the time. And as someone who has been through some of the very same scenes depicted in It Ends With Us, I can just tell you, Blake, you know in your heart that this has gone too far. You know it has. And you can still stop this train. You can still fess up and tell your lawyer and call this whole thing off. I don't know, legally speaking, I don't know if that's true. Like, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not saying I know exactly how you can stop this train, but I'm sure that there's something you can do besides proceeding. Everyone on the planet is actually hoping that you proceed, because they all want to see the show. They want to see the show in court, and so do I. I'm not going to lie. Of course, I'd love to see this all go to court, because I want to see justice served for Justin Baldoni. But Blake, your children are going to grow up, and they're going to find out about this. This isn't a secret that you'll be able to keep from them. They will eventually know the details of this case, and they will see the facts, just like the entire world has seen the facts. And for you to go after Justin Baldoni and insist that he created some kind of negative press, smear campaign, when I can literally tell you, as a TikToker myself, I watched you get smeared, and it wasn't Justin Baldoni smearing you, and it wasn't some kind of secret plot. It's because domestic abuse survivors like myself were disgusted by your lack of empathy, your lack of appropriate, your lack of, how do I even say this? Domestic abuse survivors were truly just so put off by you and your demeanor in the interviews. After seeing the movie, especially. It took people seeing the movie, and then when people saw the movie and saw your interviews, they were disgusted, myself included. And I hadn't even seen the movie. All I had to know was that other domestic abuse survivors and domestic violence survivors were upset to get upset myself, because that's how domestic violence survivors roll. We have each other's back. We know what we went through, and we have empathy for each other. And all it took is me seeing one domestic violence survivor being disgusted by your demeanor and your casual attitude at these interviews, where you could have given a voice to domestic violence survivors, and instead you wanted to talk about your wardrobe, and you wanted to laugh, and you wanted to poke fun, and you wanted to act like this was like a chick flick. When in reality, Justin Baldoni's passion for this project was to help women. I've been rambling about this long enough. I had hoped to save some of this for another video, but Blake, you really need to search your soul and do something to stop your husband, Ryan Reynolds, from burning it all to the ground. He's already burned it to the ground. You still have a chance. You still have a chance to speak up and say, oh my gosh, this has been a whirlwind, and I am suffering from extreme narcissism and control and total just he's totally whacked out. He's whacked out. He's crashing out for the whole world to see. Everybody knows it. And for us to be able to even see his crash outs in hindsight in his own movies, that he wrote in all of these horrific things that I hope Justin Baldoni is suing for as well. Like, I hope, just up the ante, Justin, because if somebody made a movie where I was being portrayed as an ice pool, and then I was being shot hundreds of times or something, like overkilled, basically, I for sure would sue. I don't know on what grounds, but like, that's what I paid the lawyer to figure out. There's no way I'm letting that go. And I don't even think that's been named in the lawsuit yet as a complaint. Like, I don't think that's been added to the suit. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. You guys, that's all for our show. It got heavy. I don't know. I feel, hopefully I can post this. That got heavy. That's all for the show. I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments about all of this stuff with Becoming Brigitte and this latest episode on CandaceOwens.com. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. You need to watch it. It's free, and you need to educate yourself on the satanic nature of what went on with Emmanuel Macron being 14 years old, pursued by a 39-year-old who apparently, allegedly, is a man. It's mind-blowing. He was groomed, he was pursued, he was probably statutorily raped, and it's heartbreaking to see when a victim also becomes a criminal. that's what we're seeing. And we're seeing it, we're seeing it in multiple ways on the world stage, aren't we? So, ladies and gentlemen, learn your lessons from these people who go down the wrong path. Listen to your spirit and the spirit inside of you that guides you towards truth and righteousness, lest you end up in such a predicament as Emmanuel Macron, as Jean-Michel Trogneau, and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Wow. I can't believe it. I can't believe that it's only February of 2025. And I would have to agree with Candace. She said that she thinks that this could be the biggest interview of the year, and I would have to agree. And I look forward to seeing the response from the French government. Hopefully it's not crickets. Until next time, bye.